Hey, welcome back to day 2 of my Minecraft Let's Build series. I actually have 2 different worlds here. This was the previous one that I had created in episode 1. I completely abandoned that, or decided to rather. Um, so in my spare time, I ended up creating a bunch of different worlds after that, just to kind of learn how some of the mechanics work in this game. Um, So I'm not sure if I learned enough because there's a lot more to it than it seems. But as you can see here, I have a fully fortified shelter that I created from some of the wood planks that I created in turn from this crafting table. There's actually a lot to it. I somehow created this world just from playing around with some of the seed values, right? Um, and finally, after trying different types of seed values, I finally found one that has at least a perfect experience in my eyes, where there's plenty of open space here, right? And this is actually where I had spawned originally when I had created the world. And so, decided to build a basic shelter here. It doesn't seem so basic anymore, but when I first started, all I had in here was simply, you know, this bed and just, like a mini shack. Groups of 5x5 wood planks. And then with each, progressing day, what I did was during the day, gathered more wood planks, which is, I'm sure, something that a lot of people do initially during their initial moments of the game. And then kind of worked my way up, added this room, added this room. There's a 3-bedroom, I'm sorry, the 4-bedroom cabin now. And of course, I call it a cabin as opposed to an actual home because you can't really call it that. Let's be real. But it is shelter, and it does provide that, safety measure for me during the night times. So again, this world, I'm completely satisfied with it, and I think I'll be sticking with this this one for the long run, or for the long haul. So you have your body of water here, plenty of it, and of course lots of land, open areas. And during the daytime, there's plenty of animals that gather in these vast areas. So that opens up the potential for farming. And I also recently discovered there's actually a village right next to this area, which I have yet to go to. So maybe that's something I'll probably look into in the future. And of course, nice little surprises, like you have your mini little, pool of water here in case you need it for potentially farming, and and then some. And really, my day to day so far, and really, I call it day to day, but it's only been 3 to 4 days, where all I've done is put all my focus into, creating this little shelter. And this is where I started gathering a bunch of wood. And I think a lot of these trees have started to grow back, which is pretty fast. And, overall for the next few episodes, I would imagine my plan is to spend much of the day in game, sort of gathering more supplies, namely for the house, and, maybe do some excavations here and there, kind of raiding different areas, and then come back home, perhaps try to craft something new, if possible. And typically, you know, around this time when the sun starts to set, as you can see, I'll probably make my way back home before, you know, trouble starts to brew out here with those enemies. And of course, you know, closing the door is very important. Ooh. Well, that's great. I guess one of those explosion guys happened to follow me back. And so, unfortunately, a part of my home has been destroyed. And this is certainly a first. Get back to the planks, try to rebuild this thing. Or at least the missing pieces here. Pretty good damage right there with that explosion guy. Which sort of, you know, sets a good example in that I should probably start thinking about a better, you know, fortification around the house. Thankfully, it didn't impact more than that area. I know this one was closed off originally. So clearly I have some repairs to do. I mean, the amount of, you know, area that covered, pretty good bit. And I assume in this game, the grass will automatically just sort of recover since we have everything else okay, you know, in okay condition. Um, and another thing too, I just realized is the crafting table that I had made is completely gone as well. So pretty interesting stuff here. Oh, and we have another block that we'll probably want to cover here. And then some. Actually, my the bed that I had here is unfortunately gone as well. And thankfully the crafting table is not that difficult to reproduce. Let's put this guy right over here. Thankfully, everything else is still intact. As you can see in my chest, I still have a few things in here. And having just started out with this game, my inventory is not going to be that crazy. And in the last, I guess not the last episode, but in between, I found 2 eggs, during one of my excavations, and so that's interesting. I have no idea what those end up doing. And of course, I had also constructed the blast furnace. And this is, for us to be able to cook stuff like, pork chops or what have you, depending on the types of meats you have, in addition to, a coal piece as a requirement. So you can start burning things or even start smelting things. But since it is nighttime in game, probably a good idea to maybe go to bed. So we will do just that. And of course, in the last episode, having just started out, this was something that I could not do because, again, we could not find, a decent amount of wool in that map. And, of course, building a house was a challenge in and of itself. A lot of times I noticed when you just wake up and you exit the house, there will be some monsters that, remain in the area. So probably a good idea to, kind of, oh, there you go. There you go. Always a good idea to look around. I believe these are the explosion guys. So I try not to mess with them. Better to kind of just leave them behind until I can figure out how to defeat them quickly. And it's interesting how these just seem to float in the air. And one great thing about this open area is that no matter how far you kind of wander around, whether if it's in that direction or that direction, you can always get back home kind of following that mountain area. And like I said earlier, there's plenty of potential for, farmland in this area. Like, very huge. And, with different sources of, incoming water that you can pump through. I think I would imagine if this, is that sort of survival game where you can involve automation and stuff, that would probably help out in the long run. There is one area that I had my eye on um, just prior to starting the stream, and I had started doing my excavations there as well. That's how I, constructed my blast furnace And I think I had made an entrance to it as well, where I can just peacefully climb down. I guess it's this right here. Yeah. The only interesting thing about this underground sort of tunnel is that a lot of times, if it is fairly dark inside, there are, enemies that will just randomly spawn. So, always a good idea to have a few weapons in hand. And I think a lot of these stones can only be obtained through pickaxes. Otherwise, you'll just be wasting hours and hours, using your bare hands, and of course, ending up with absolutely nothing. And that's just one of the things I've learned recently, just from experimenting with the game. And I've gotten kind of paranoid as to always looking behind me when I'm mining here, just because interesting how the music just changed. So I'm not sure if that means anything as far as incoming enemies or anything of that nature. But thankfully, I would not want to wander inside, more than necessary. Since for now, we just want to focus on the basics. So our basic stones. Just for crafting purposes. And these are for extra cold, right? Oh, here we go. Got to get away from that. This is exactly why you have to be very careful in here. And of course, that thing is going to follow me indefinitely. Which is another, I guess, interesting concept behind this game. And another thing I wonder about is this. I believe this is sand. Not sure exactly what we can do with this stuff. There's plenty of it, so scarcity is not a problem. And again, like I said earlier, the area is quite vast. Plenty of trees, plenty of farmland, and of course water. Eventually, I assume we can build a boat and kind of sail the seas in an effort to find more items and minerals and what have you. And I think this item is really tied to the birch wood. It's another type of wood that you can work with when you're, working on different, I guess, furniture in house. I assume windows or something. I believe that's a mushroom tree. And again, it's very easy to lose track if you, just wander down too far. Gotta make sure I don't take fall damage, because unfortunately that is a thing in this game, especially if you're playing on survival mode. I assume with the creative mode, you probably don't have to worry about that. And that area is also very interesting. I assume that's lava right there, based on the color of it. Yeah, so as you can see here, a lot of the dirt now has been replaced with patches of grass. So thankfully it does grow back with time. So what can we create? So we have plenty of wood planks, nothing new there. Birch wood planks, which is something that I mentioned just a few moments ago as we were chomping down some of those trees. Dark oak wood planks. Cobblestone wall. I think this right here is going to be very important when we're fortifying the house a little further. So I would assume that, I put an emphasis in continuing to find more of these. And it looks like it's a little more difficult to produce compared to the oak wood planks. Oak fence. So I guess fencing will sort of come into play when I'll want to manage the farmland with some of those animals to keep them captive, or at least in one place. I'm not sure what some of these are used for. Wood slab, trapdoor, maybe something to do with enemies or trapping animals. And ladder, which really we don't really have a use for right now at the moment. Not a bad idea to craft an additional sword as well as a pickaxe. Or should I do wooden axe instead? Wonder if that changes up the game a little bit when we're looking for some of those stones. I feel like I need a few more items. Another thing I was wondering about was adding maybe some windows to this shelter. Although that would probably involve glass, which is a different mineral that you can get elsewhere. I assume through a furnace, requires some smelting. Which, speaking of, let's fire this thing up, right? So what do we have? We have raw pork chop, raw beef, mutton. So Let's try. That's actually 6 of them. Maybe we can grab just one. And a piece of coal. So that's, as you can see, it's getting it ready for us. And there we have it, cooked mutton. I think it's time to start making use of this chest, as eventually I imagine I'm going to end up in a situation where I have a lot more items than I would need to hold on to. Oops. Did someone just enter the house? No, that was probably the chest. That was close. Let's see if we can get some rest. I imagine there's enemies in this game that are kind of smart, right? That can break through houses if they want. Sounds like there's some enemies outside. Judging by the sound. What is that thing? It's like, I guess it is sort of flying in the air and it's emitting some type of poison. So, we'll add that to the list of things that I have no idea about. Let's see, what else? Hopefully, there's nothing else. And one thing I've noticed, while playing Minecraft in general, is when you're exiting your house, always gotta close the door. There was a sticky situation that I got into before while exploring some of the worlds through different seed values, where there was a skeleton archer that had sort of invaded the home, and he was just chilling there. And as soon as I got back, I realized the door was open, and let's just say the situation was not too pretty. So lesson learned. Not sure what this stuff is. Bones. Oh, interesting. So there's a lava that I mentioned just a few minutes ago. Eventually that will have its own use. And unfortunately the stones just happen to fall inside. These are very easy to mine, time-wise. And there we go. Very interesting sound. Something has to be inside, but I feel like I'm not ready for it yet. Ooh. Looks like this guy is after us now. I probably shouldn't be messing with him this early on. Although long range weapons would probably help. Yikes. Fall damage. This looks like a slightly different item. Although I can't get it for some reason. Do I have... Oh, right. I don't have enough inventory, as you can see. There's a bunch more of that lava. And here's that village that I referred to earlier in the episode. It looks like that's some kind of a stone golem. Maybe a security guard or something. I wonder if these guys are hostile at all. It doesn't look like it. Maybe I should put my sword or pickaxe away, right? Interesting. So clearly these houses are a lot better than, my cabin. And now that it's sunset, probably a good idea to start heading back. Gotta stay away from those spiders. I think this one managed to follow me, but let's see. So not much more we can do outside of the stuff that we've seen earlier. First, let's go ahead and put some of the stuff away inside the chest. Sugar canes, we don't really have much use for at the moment. There we go. Stone sword. I actually already have one of those. Get a sign out there. Maybe that's something to put outside the home. Bone meal. Wonder what that does. Oak wood. Block of coal. Okay, so now we can make torches. It's about time. So we needed a piece of coal and a stick. Simple as that. Lever. And this one, I'm not too sure of what that is. Campfire, maybe. I assume this would kind of come in handy during times when you are camping out away from the home. Oak sign, nothing new. Oak pressure plate. I suppose I should try crafting one of each that I don't have yet. And at some point, I'm probably going to need another chest to put away a lot of this stuff. So we'll, I guess, put our second chest right over here. Oh, and now we actually have a bigger one. Is that what it is? A large chest. There you go. Pretty neat. And at night, of course, there's not much else you can do. Okay, you may not rest since there's monsters nearby. Ooh, that fire guy. Definitely got to watch out for that. Same with that skeleton dude. So still, I mean, this early on, I would imagine there's still a bunch of monsters walking around like this one. These guys are completely harmless. They actually belong to one of the villagers, supposedly. All right, so I guess the plan is to continue fortifying the house. To protect from more future explosions or anything else that we have yet to come across. But for that, unfortunately, we do need a good bit of, stone. There you go. But a lot of these are just coals. Yikes. Oh, and this is something new. I guess mining underground probably has more value than up above. But of course, it does come at a cost, right? Number one, you have the possibility of monsters uh, spawning around the area. And then, of course, using the pickaxe means that it'll basically wear out over time. And thankfully, because of this opening, there's plenty of light, for this tunnel. Do we have more than enough now? Yeah, we've hit that roadblock yet again where we cannot carry uh, any more items. Cobblestone walls. We can only build 6 with the amount that we have. Diorite stairs. Diorite wall. So we can also build some of this stuff too, which should be pretty solid compared to just, plain old wood. And I think with oak wood planks, I think we have less uses of that for the time being. And we can certainly transform a lot of this stuff into planks. Oops. Before putting it away in the chest. And I guess 64 is the max count that we can drop in here. Not to mention 64 is the max count that you can actually carry when it comes to quantity. And I am trying to set a habit going back to the same place underground for mining. Just because a lot of times you can, lose track of where you left off. So better to start in one place and kind of make your way across. I keep forgetting about the fall damage. Alright, no enemies so far. And now that it is getting close to, I believe, dusk outside, we should probably wrap things up in here before calling it a day. Yikes, and that goes our pickaxe right there. Not sure what these two are still doing over here. As you can see, there's that skeleton guy. We should definitely be wary. not a bad idea to keep a couple of torches around. And honestly, I should probably start storing a lot of these items in the chest regardless, because a lot of times, if you do end up dead, at least you can retain stuff that's inside your chest, because your inventory supposedly gets dropped as soon as you die. So right after you respawn, I forget what the rule was when I read it, but you only have 5 minutes or so, near that respawn place, wherever you died, for you to sort of pick up those pieces. Iron ore, that's what that was. It sounds pretty important. I think this is one of those things we can probably use for smelting, on that furnace, for us to be able to craft some powerful stuff, potentially. Polished granite. That's what that was. It's actually granite. I think that should be a solid piece right there. And it's probably a good idea to just hit the sack at this point. Oh, you may not rest now. Yeah, I thought I heard noises just a moment ago. So we'll wait until that kind of subsides. Although I wouldn't want to be too close to the door right about now. There he is. That explosion guy. Hopefully he can't detect us. Otherwise, that's definitely going to cause some problems. There we go. Perfect. And that about does it for this stream. So, again, a lot of great stuff by the end of the second episode. And like I said, this world, it does wonders. The fact that the surroundings around the main shelter that I built, it's pretty good, right? There's a village nearby, so opens up some potential for interactions in the future. Plenty of animals in the area as well, in the open space. So that's also potential for farming in the future. And then don't forget excavations underground. And honestly, I'm not sure how long it'll take for us to get to, some of the more rare items. Like I assume diamond is probably one of them, maybe gold and what have you. And of course, that opens up more possibilities in turn as well, where you can probably, craft more powerful weapons for your guy. And yeah, so some exciting stuff so far. And again, like I said before, this is my first time playing Minecraft, more over the, survival genre. So definitely a learning opportunity on my end. I think it's pretty fun so far. I mean, I've only had to so far create and trash a couple of worlds to kind of learn what I like and what I don't like about it. And finally, this recent one that I've created works just fine. So we'll be working off of that one going forward. So as usual, thanks for tuning into the episode, and maybe next time we'll run into different enemies while being underground, or who knows, at some point I also want to look into how farming works in this game. So good stuff coming up. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.